Ladies and gentlemen, every single morning you wake up, you are standing at a crossroads. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but it's there. One path leads you back to the same life you complained about yesterday. The other path leads you to growth, to discipline, to a version of yourself that most people are too afraid to become. And here's the truth, nobody is coming to drag you to that better path. Nobody is going to knock on your door and say, today is your day, get up and win. No, you have to say that to yourself, because the first voice you hear in the morning is the most powerful voice you will hear all day. Some of you wake up and the first thing you tell yourself is, I'm tired. Some of you say, I don't feel like it. Some of you say, what's the point? And right there, you already lost the morning. See, before the world touches you, before social media, before people, before problems, you've already programmed your mind to stay exactly where you are. But winners don't start their day like that. Winners understand something powerful. What you say to yourself becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes what you live. You don't need a new life. You need a new conversation with yourself. Because the difference between the person who makes it and the person who doesn't, it's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even opportunity. It's what they tell themselves when nobody is listening. When it's just them and the mirror and the truth. So today I'm going to give you something simple. Not easy, but simple. 9 things, just 9. 9 things you must tell yourself every single morning if you're serious about changing your life. Not sometimes. Not when you feel motivated, every single morning. Because discipline starts before the world wakes up. And if you can win the morning, you can win the day. The first thing you need to tell yourself every morning is this: I am responsible for my life. That's where it starts, not with excuses, not with blame, not with pointing fingers at people, situations, or your past. You have to own it. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take back control. You stop waiting. You stop complaining. You stop hoping someone else will fix it. And you start moving. Your life is your decision. Every habit, every choice, every action, it's yours. And once you accept that, everything changes. The second thing you need to say is, I will not waste today. Listen carefully, time is the one thing you don't get back. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose opportunities and find new ones. But when a day is gone, it's gone forever. And too many people treat their mornings like they have an unlimited supply of tomorrows. Scrolling, delaying. But every wasted morning becomes a life you regret later. So you wake up and you remind yourself, today matters. Not next week, not someday. Today. The third thing you must tell yourself is, I can do hard things. Because life is not going to get easy. Let me say that again. Life is not going to get easy. The challenges won't stop. The obstacles won't disappear. The pressure won't magically fade. But you can get stronger. And when you remind yourself every morning that you can handle discomfort, that you can push through resistance, that you can keep going even when it's hard, you build something inside you that nothing can break. Strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from doing what you don't feel like doing. The fourth thing you need to say is, I don't need approval. Too many people are living their lives based on what others discover. Afraid to speak. Afraid to move. Why? Because they're waiting for validation. Let me tell you something, approval is a trap. The moment you need someone else to believe in you before you believe in yourself, you've already limited your potential. You wake up and you tell yourself, you don't need applause to take action. You don't need permission to chase your goals. You don't need anyone to agree with your vision. You move because you decided to move. The fifth thing you must say is, I will stay consistent, not motivated, not inspired, consistent. Because motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll feel strong, some days you won't. Some days you'll wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you'll want to quit before you even start. That's normal. But consistency doesn't care about feelings. Consistency shows up anyway. Consistency says, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it. And that's how results are built. Not in big moments, but in small actions repeated every single day. The sixth thing you need to tell yourself is, I am becoming better. Not perfect, better. Because perfection will paralyze you. You'll wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect version of yourself, and you'll never start. But better is progress. Better is waking up and saying, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And that mindset keeps you moving forward. Every small improvement compounds. Every step counts. And before you know it, you've become someone you once thought was impossible. The seventh thing you must say is, I control my attitude. You don't control everything that happens to you. Life will hit you. People will disappoint you. Things will go wrong. But your attitude, that's yours. And that's your power. Because two people can go through the same situation and come out completely different, one broken, one stronger. The difference mindset, so you wake up and you decide how you're going to respond, not react, respond with strength, with clarity, with purpose. The eighth thing you need to tell yourself is, I will focus on what matters, because distractions are everywhere, noise, opinions, drama, comparisons. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire day busy, but not productive. You'll move, but not forward. So you remind yourself, focus on your goals, on your growth, on your priorities. Everything else is just noise. And the more you eliminate distractions, the faster you move toward the life you actually want. The ninth and final thing you must say every morning is, I will not quit. Simple, powerful, non-negotiable. Because at some point you will feel like giving up. At some point it will get hard. At some point you will question everything. That's part of the process. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not who struggles, it's who keeps going. So you wake up and you make a decision, not based on how you feel, but based on who you want to become. You don't quit, not today, not tomorrow, not ever, because quitting guarantees failure. But persistence creates possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, if you start your mornings with these 9 truths, your life will begin to shift. Not overnight, not instant, but steadily, powerfully, permanently, because you're not just changing your actions, you're changing your identity. And once you change how you see yourself, everything else follows. So tomorrow morning, before the world gets your attention, give that time to yourself. Stand in front of that mirror, look yourself in the eyes and speak power into your life, because at the end of the day, the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. You wake up and for a moment everything feels the same. Same room, same thoughts, same weight sitting on your chest. And it's easy, so easy, to look around and start blaming everything outside of you. Your past, your family, your situation, the opportunities you never got, the people who didn't help you, the doors that never opened. It feels justified, it feels real. But deep down, there's a quiet voice inside you that knows something you've been avoiding. Nothing changes until you do. That's the part that hurts. That's the part most people run from. Because taking responsibility means you can't hide anymore. You can't point fingers. You can't say it's because of them. You have to look in the mirror and say, it's on me. And that moment is heavy. It feels unfair at first, like life handed you something you didn't ask for, like you're carrying weight that shouldn't be yours. But at the same time, there's power in it, because the moment you say, this is my life, you also say, this is my move. Now you're not stuck anymore. Now you're not waiting. You're deciding every habit you build or break, every excuse you make or reject, every action you take or avoid, it all comes back to you. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to admit you wasted time. It's uncomfortable to admit you stayed in the same place too long. It's uncomfortable to admit you knew better but didn't do better. But that honesty, that raw, uncomfortable truth, that's where your power lies. Because once you own it, nobody can take it from you. Now you're not hoping life gets better. You're making it better. You start moving differently, thinking differently, acting with intention instead of reaction. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for permissions. You open your eyes in the morning, and before your feet even touch the ground, time has already started moving. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't slow down because you're tired. It doesn't care if you had a bad day yesterday, it just keeps going. And most people treat that like it means nothing. They wake up and reach for their phone, scroll for minutes that turn into hours. They tell themselves, I'll start later. They delay, they hesitate, they drift through the morning like it doesn't matter. But it does. That quiet time in the morning, that's where your life is being shaped. Every second you waste, you're making a decision not to grow, not to move, not to become more. And the scary part is it feels normal, it feels harmless in the moment, just a few minutes, just one delay, just one more scroll. But those moments add up. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. And suddenly you're looking at your life wondering why nothing changed, why you're still in the same place, why you still feel stuck. It's because you kept giving away your mornings like they had no value. Time is not just something you spend, it's something you invest. And if you keep investing it in distractions, comfort, and delay, you're building a life you don't even want. That realization hits hard. Because now you see it, you see how much time slipped through your hands, how many chances you ignored, how many mornings you let go without purpose. But that pain, that awareness, it can wake you up. You start to understand that every morning is a fresh opportunity, a reset, a chance to do something different. Not something big, not something perfect, just something intentional. You get up with purpose instead of confusion. You move with direction instead of hesitation. You protect your time like it actually matters because it does. You stop letting distractions steal your focus. You stop letting laziness decide your future. You stop acting like tomorrow is guaranteed, because it's not. All you have is today, this moment, this morning. And what you do with it defines everything that comes next. You wake up and already feel it. That resistance, that quiet voice telling you to stay where it's comfortable, to avoid the struggle, to take the easy way just for today. Because doing hard things that's uncomfortable, it stretches you. It exposes your weaknesses. It forces you to face parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. And most people run from that feeling. They wait until it feels easier. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until the discomfort disappears. But it never does. Life doesn't get easier. The weight doesn't get lighter. The challenges don't magically go away. What changes is you, but only if you choose to step into that discomfort. Only if you stop running. There's a moment right before you do something hard where your mind starts negotiating with you. Skip it today. Do it later. You deserve a break. And it sounds convincing because comfort feels safe. But every time you listen to that voice, you weaken something inside you. You build a habit of quitting before you even start. And over time, that becomes who you are, someone who avoids, someone who hesitates, someone who stays stuck. That realization hits deep because you know you're capable of more. You feel it. But capability means nothing without action. And action, real action, requires you to do things you don't feel like doing, to push when it's hard, to continue when it's uncomfortable, to show up even when everything in you says don't. That's where strength is built, not in easy moments, not when everything is going your way, but in those quiet battles when nobody is watching. When it's just you and your thoughts, you choose to get up anyway. You choose to try again. You choose to face what scares you. And it's not about being fearless. It's about moving forward despite the fear. That's the shift. You stop waiting for things to feel easy, and you start proving to yourself that you can handle hard. And once you realize that, once you truly feel it, you stop doubting yourself the same way. Because now you've seen what you're made of. Now you've stepped into something stronger than comfort. Now you've built something inside you that doesn't break the moment things get difficult. You walk into a room, and before you even say a word, you start thinking about what everyone else is thinking about you. How you look, how you sound, whether you're enough. It's automatic. You measure yourself through their eyes. You adjust your words. You hold back your thoughts. You shrink parts of yourself just to fit into a space that was never meant for you. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop being real. Because you're chasing approval. You're waiting for someone to nod, to agree, to validate you before you move forward. And when that approval doesn't come, you hesitate. You doubt yourself. You question everything. That feeling is heavy because it puts your life in someone else's hands. Now your confidence depends on their opinion. Your decisions depend on their reaction. Your dreams depend on whether they believe in you. And the truth is, most people are too busy dealing with their own insecurities to fully believe in yours. So you stay stuck, not because you can't move, but because you're waiting for permission that was never yours to ask for. That realization hits different because deep down, you know you don't need anyone to tell you who you are. You don't need applause to take the first step. You don't need approval to start becoming who you were meant to be. But breaking that habit, it's not easy. It means standing alone sometimes. It means making decisions that people won't understand. It means walking a path that doesn't come with guarantees or validation. And that can feel uncomfortable, even lonely. But there's something powerful on the other side of that: freedom. Freedom to think for yourself, to act for yourself, to build something that actually belongs to you. You stop looking around for confirmation. You start looking within. You trust your instincts more. You listen to your own voice instead of the noise around you. And slowly that need for approval starts to fade. You realize that people will always have opinions. Some will doubt you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will never see your vision. And that's okay, because their belief was never required for your success. What matters is yours. What matters is the decision you make when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when it's just you and the choice to move forward anyway. Even if no one else understands it, even if no one else supports it, even if no one else believes in it, you wake up some mornings and you feel unstoppable. Everything feels clear. You're ready, focus-driven. And in those moments, it's easy to believe you've figured it out. But then there are other mornings, heavy ones, where your body feels slow, your mind feels tired, and the same goals that once excited you now feel distant. And that's where most people fall apart. Because they've been taught to rely on motivation, they wait for that feeling, that spark, that energy. And when it's not there, they stop, they pause, they delay. They tell themselves, I'll do it when I feel better. But the truth is, if you only move when you feel motivated, you'll never get far. Because motivation is temporary. It comes and goes, it fades. It disappears when things get uncomfortable. And life will test you on the days you don't feel like showing up. That's where consistency comes in. Consistency doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're inspired. It just asks one question, are you showing up or not? And that question, it's simple, but it's powerful. Because showing up when you don't feel like it, that's where growth happens. That's where discipline is built. You start small. You push yourself to take that first step even when everything inside you resists. And it feels hard. It feels forced. It feels like you're dragging yourself forward. But you do it anyway. And the next day you do it again. Not because you feel like it, but because you made a decision. And slowly something begins to change. You stop depending on your emotions. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. You build a routine that carries you even when your energy is low. And that routine becomes your foundation. There will still be hard days. Days where you question why you started. Days where progress feels invisible. But consistency, it keeps you moving, step by step. Even when it's slow, even when it's messy. Even when it doesn't feel like it's working. Because deep down, you understand something most people don't. It's not about doing something big once. It's about doing something small over and over again. Until it becomes part of who you are. There are going to be moments when everything in you wants to stop. Not because you're weak, but because you're tired. Tired of trying. Tired of waiting. Tired of giving your energy and not seeing the results you imagined. And in those moments, quitting feels like relief. It feels like you can finally put the weight down. Like you can finally breathe without pressure sitting on your chest. And that thought, it's dangerous. Because quitting doesn't just stop the struggle. It stops the possibility. You start telling yourself, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I've done enough. And it sounds reasonable. It sounds like you're protecting yourself. But deep down, there's something inside you that doesn't agree. A quiet voice that keeps reminding you why you started, the vision you had, the life you saw, the person you believed you could become. That voice doesn't scream. It whispers. And you can ignore it or you can listen. Because every time you choose not to quit, you build something stronger than motivation. You build resilience. You prove to yourself that you don't fold under pressure, that you don't walk away just because it's hard. And that changes you. It changes the way you see yourself. You stop seeing someone who gives up when things get difficult. You start seeing someone who endures, someone who stays, someone who fights through the moments that break others. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's waking up and continuing even when you feel nothing. It's putting in effort even when the results aren't showing. It's holding on when everything around you says, let go. And those moments, they matter more than the easy ones. Because anyone can keep going when it feels good. But not everyone can keep going when it feels empty, when it feels pointless, when it feels like nothing is changing. That's where most people disappear. That's where dreams get abandoned. That's where potential fades away. But if you stay, if you hold your ground, if you refuse to walk away from yourself, something shifts, not outside, inside. You become harder to break. You become someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to move forward. You become someone who understands that the journey is not about comfort, it's about commitment. And once you reach that point, quitting is no longer an option. It's something you left behind a long time ago,